What if the most powerful thing you could do for your body today required absolutely nothing? No supplement, no gym membership, no expensive diet plan, just the decision to stop eating for one single day. It sounds almost too simple to be true. And yet, buried inside that one decision is a cascade of biological events so precise, so layered, and so extraordinary that scientists have spent decades trying to fully understand them. Most people think fasting is just about hunger. They think it's about willpower, about white-knuckling, through the discomfort until the clock runs out. But what actually happens inside your body during those 24 hours has almost nothing to do with willpower, and everything to do with one of the most sophisticated survival systems ever designed by nature. This is not a story about skipping meals. This is a story about what your body is truly capable of when you finally get out of its way. The moment you finish your last meal and decide not to eat again for the next 24 hours, your body doesn't panic. It doesn't sound an alarm. In fact, for the first couple of hours, almost nothing feels different. Your stomach is still processing what you just ate. Digestive enzymes are still breaking down the last remnants of food moving through your gut. Insulin is still elevated, doing its job of ushering glucose into your cells and signaling the body to store what isn't immediately needed. On the surface, life continues as normal. But beneath that surface, the first quiet calculations are already beginning. Your body is a system built on anticipation. It is always reading the environment, always preparing for what comes next, and right now, the signals it's receiving are beginning to change. By the third and fourth hour, those changes become more vocal. Ghrelin, the hormone responsible for hunger, begins to rise. It sends urgent messages to your brain. Eat something, find food. This is not normal. And your brain, being the dramatic organ that it is, listens carefully. You start thinking about food, not because your body is starving. Your energy levels are still completely stable at this point, but because your body is deeply habitual. It has been trained by years of routine to expect food at certain times. When that food doesn't arrive, ghrelin spikes, and the discomfort you feel is not a sign of danger. It is simply the sound of habit being interrupted. Push through this window, and the entire experience of the day changes. Surrender to it, and you'll never discover what comes next. Around hours 6 to 8, something more significant begins. Blood glucose levels start to decline. For most people, this is the moment that feels hardest. The fatigue, the mild headache, the irritability that makes everyone around you slightly nervous. But what feels like a crash is actually something far more interesting. Your body has just made a decision. It is switching fuel sources. Glucose, the quick-burning sugar that has been powering your brain and muscles, is running low in the bloodstream. The pancreas responds by pulling back on insulin production. And that reduction in insulin, that single hormonal shift, is the key that unlocks everything that follows. With insulin falling, your liver receives a new set of instructions. It begins breaking down its stored glycogen, essentially a compressed form of glucose that your body keeps in reserve for exactly this kind of moment. Think of it as your body's emergency battery. The liver starts releasing that stored energy back into the bloodstream in a slow, controlled trickle, keeping your brain supplied and your organs functioning without a single bite of food passing your lips. This is survival biochemistry at its most elegant. Your body's not failing. It is adapting. And it has been preparing for this exact scenario for your entire evolutionary history. By hour 10, the liver has shifted into a higher gear. It is no longer just releasing stored glycogen. It is beginning to manufacture an entirely different kind of fuel. As glycogen reserves start to run low, the liver pivots to fat. Thus, it begins pulling fatty acids from your fat stores and converting them into molecules called ketone bodies. Ketones are remarkable. They are smaller, cleaner, and in some ways more efficient than glucose. Your brain, which is often described as being glucose dependent, is actually perfectly capable of running on ketones. And some research suggests it may actually prefer them under certain conditions. People who have pushed through the early discomfort of fasting often describe a moment somewhere around this phase, where the mental fog lifts and a strange, quiet clarity arrives. That is ketones arriving at the brain. That is your ancient fuel system coming online for the first time in perhaps years. Inside every cell in your body, something equally remarkable is happening at the microscopic level. The mitochondria, the tiny structures responsible for converting fuel into usable energy, are being forced to become more efficient. When glucose floods the system constantly, mitochondria get lazy. They have more than enough to work with, and they don't need to optimize. But in a fasted state, with fuel becoming scarcer, they adapt. They begin extracting more energy from less fuel. They produce fewer waste products in the process. The cellular environment gets cleaner, and in that cleaner environment, something ancient and extraordinary begins to stir, a process called autophagy. Autophagy is your body's internal recycling program. Damaged proteins, worn-out cell components, malfunctioning organelles, all of it gets tagged, broken down, and repurposed. It is cellular spring cleaning on a scale that most people never allow their bodies to perform because they never stop eating long enough for it to begin. This is one of the most exciting areas of modern biology. The scientist who discovered the mechanisms of autophagy won the Nobel Prize in Physiology in 2016. It is not a fringe idea. It is one of the most important processes your body is capable of, and fasting is one of the most reliable ways to activate it. By hours 12 to 14, insulin has fallen to its lowest point of the day, and that drop changes everything. Insulin, when elevated, acts like a lock on your fat cells. It prevents them from releasing their stored energy. But with insulin now suppressed, those locks open. Fat cells begin releasing their stored triglycerides into the bloodstream as free fatty acids. Your body has officially entered fat burning mode, not as a metaphor, not as a marketing phrase, but as a precise, measurable physiological state. Your muscles and organs are now fueled by fat. Your liver is converting some of that fat into ketones for your brain. And all of this is happening without any external intervention, without any pill or powder, just the simple absence of food and the intelligence of a body doing exactly what it was designed to do. What's also happening during this window is a quiet but significant improvement in insulin sensitivity. Every hour your insulin stays low, your cells become slightly more receptive to it. When you eventually eat again, your body will handle that meal more efficiently than it did the day before. This is one of the reasons researchers have linked regular short-term fasting to reduce risk of type 2 diabetes. Not because fasting is magic, but because giving insulin a sustained break allows the system to recalibrate. Around hour 15, your stomach has been empty for hours, but it hasn't gone quiet. It continues producing acid and digestive enzymes on its regular schedule, a kind of muscular memory that doesn't immediately recognize the absence of food. The hollow growling, the contractions. These are not signs of damage. They are signs of a system still running its programmed routine. But something else is happening in the gut that matters far more. The lining of your intestines, which takes a constant beating from digestion, acids, and the mechanical process of moving food through your system, is getting a rare opportunity to repair itself. Chronic eating, especially the modern pattern of snacking every few hours from morning to night, leaves almost no window for this repair to happen. Fasting creates that window. The gut lining strengthens. Inflammation in the digestive tract begins to ease. And the microbiome, the vast community of trillions of bacteria living inside your intestines, begins to shift. Certain bacterial populations that thrive on constant feeding start to quiet down. Others that benefit from fasting conditions become more active. Microbial diversity, which is one of the strongest markers of gut health and overall immune resilience, begins to improve. You're not just resting your stomach. You're actively remodeling the ecosystem inside it. By hour 17, your brain is running almost entirely on ketones, and the mental experience of fasting reaches its most unpredictable point. For some people, this is the window of unexpected clarity, a sharpness, a focus, a kind of heightened awareness that feels almost paradoxical, given that no food has entered the body in nearly a full day. In evolutionary terms, this makes complete sense. A hungry human needed to be more alert, not less, more capable of finding food, reading the environment, making fast decisions. The brain under mild fasting stress is not a diminished brain. It is a brain that has been temporarily forced out of its comfortable, glucose-fed routine and into a state of heightened metabolic efficiency. For others, this same window brings irritability, anxiety, or difficulty concentrating, a signal that their particular metabolism, hydration levels, or sleep quality are making the adaptation harder. Neither experience is wrong. They are simply two expressions of the same underlying process playing out in different bodies. Between hours 18 and 20, fat metabolism reaches its peak intensity. Triglycerides continue breaking down into free fatty acids. The liver continues converting those fatty acids into ketones. And in parallel, fat breakdown releases glycerol, a molecule your liver can convert into fresh glucose, ensuring that the cells in your body that cannot run on fat, like red blood cells, always have what they need. Your heart, far from struggling, is actually adapting beautifully. Lower insulin and reduced glucose levels decrease inflammation in the blood vessel walls. Blood pressure begins to ease slightly. Heart rate variability, a measure of cardiovascular resilience and the body's ability to adapt to stress, improves. Your heart is finding a new rhythm, one that is quieter and more efficient than its fed state counterpart. Then comes hour 22, and with it, one of the most profound shifts of the entire 24-hour window. Autophagy accelerates. The cellular cleanup that began stirring in the earlier hours is now operating at full intensity. Damaged proteins are being dismantled. Dysfunctional organelles are being recycled. The internal environment of your cells is being cleared and restored in a way that simply does not happen under normal feeding conditions. This process is linked to improved immune function, reduced risk of neurodegenerative disease, and in animal models, measurably extended lifespan. Your body at hour 22 is not depleted. It is being renovated from the inside. And then, somewhere in the final approach to the 24-hour mark, something that surprises almost everyone occurs. Human growth hormone, HGH, surges, not slightly, dramatically. Studies have shown that a 24-hour fast can increase growth hormone levels by as much as 5 times their normal baseline. Growth hormone is not just a muscle-building signal. It is one of the body's primary repair and preservation hormones. It mobilizes fat for energy, protects lean muscle mass, supports tissue regeneration, and drives cellular recovery. The fear that fasting destroys muscle is one of the most persistent myths surrounding it. And growth hormone is a large part of why that fear is unfounded for short-term fasting. Your body is not consuming itself. It is protecting itself. It is doing exactly what 400,000 years of human evolution designed it to do when food was temporarily unavailable. At hour 24, you arrive somewhere most people never go. Your body has navigated an entire cycle of adaptation, from glucose dependence to glycogen depletion, from glycogen to fat, from fat to ketones, from feeding mode to repair mode. Every major organ has adjusted. Your liver has performed biochemical feats that would fill a textbook. Your brain has switched fuel sources without missing a beat. Your gut has begun repairing itself. Your cells have cleaned house. Your hormones have reset. And you, the person who made the decision not to eat, feel something that is difficult to describe until you've experienced it. Not weakness, not deprivation, something closer to clarity, something that feels strangely like evidence of just how much your body was capable of all along, and how rarely modern life ever gives it the chance to show you.